and welcome. I hope that you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today to talk about books. And it is Readathon month, and we're going to talk about my third book of the month. The book is Crave by Tracy Wolff. It is the first book of the Crave series. It's also the book where my prompt was to create a prediction bingo to go along with this read. And I used the same method that I used for last month's bingo. So I created a 5x5 grid, and I wrote a list of 33 predictions. I only needed 25 predictions, but I find it's easier to have more, and then if there's one I don't like, then I can just get rid of it and I can put in a replacement right away. And as I'm writing the list, I don't edit them at all. I just go free flow, write down whatever I think of, and the editing comes in when I'm filling in the chart. After I get all my ideas down on paper, then I fill in the grid, and since it's bingo, of course, the center is a free space. So once again, I didn't know much about the book going into it. All I knew was that there was a vampire involved in the story somewhere. So creating the bingo grid is difficult, but it's also easier because I can just go with anything that I think of. On to the book. Grace is an only child whose parents have died. Her only remaining relatives are her Uncle Finn and her cousin Macy, who live in Alaska. Grace and her parents lived in California, so she will be moving to Alaska to live with Finn and Macy at the school that Finn is the principal of. Macy is thrilled to see Grace. She is so excited that in anticipation of Grace coming, she decorated Grace's part of the room in a way that she thought Grace would like. Because Grace is coming from California and she doesn't have warm clothing for the climate in Alaska, they went out and got her new clothing. And Macy and Finn are really trying to help Grace feel comfortable at what must be a difficult time. Other students aren't necessarily the friendliest, especially one guy who greets Grace when she gets there by telling her that she shouldn't be there. Other students stare at her, but they don't speak to her. One thing Grace notices about the school is that many of the students hang out exclusively with those who are in their group and are openly hostile to anyone who is not in their small group of friends. But there are a couple of friendly students. Flint is exuberant and he seems to like Grace. In fact, she has an incident with a tree and Flint saves her, possibly saving her life. Leah invites Grace to her room and then visits Grace in Grace's room, which surprises Macy because Leah is typically one of those people who only associates with those who are in her group. But she really seems to want to be friends with Grace. There's another student who is sometimes friendly and sometimes hostile. Jackson vacillates between cold and distant and friendly and protective of Grace. Grace feels like there's something going on at the school, and she's not aware of it, and she increasingly wants to know what it is. When she talks with Finn, her uncle, she is surprised by the similarities and differences between him and his brother, her father. Sometimes the things that they like are so very different. I'm trying not to give away too much of the story, so I'm going to stop going into it right now. It was a good read, and I hope that I'm going to get to the rest of the series soon also. I will add that this is one of those books that people either love or they hate. I've read some comments where some people feel the plot is too similar to other books, and for others it's just too dramatic. But if you like a combination of romance, action, and mystery with some magical beings and a sense of humor, this might be a good choice for you. And since it's set in a school, there's a bit of dark academia as well. This book is, in fact, one of the first books I read where I needed to make notes in the book. So I've become an annotator. There are notes in the book. I've underlined stuff. I've put notes, and it was actually a lot of fun. What are some other books to read for a similar experience? I'm going to mention two titles. One is young adult, and one is adult. So the first one is the young adult book, and a lot of readers have mentioned this in conjunction with Crave, and that is the Twilight series. So if you're interested in a young adult read similar to Crave, you might want to try Twilight, or if you read Twilight, you might want to check out Crave. If you're looking for more than one type of magical being in your book, I would suggest Masters of Death by Olivie Blake. With the bingo that I created for Crave, I actually got one bingo, so that was kind of cool. And a lot of the things that I guessed were just like not part of the story at all. But some of the other things were, so that was fun. Now, there we are. We will be back soon when we will discuss the book Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It's the third book in the Illuminate Files series, and it promises to be a good one. Join me then, and I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.